Welcome to the Vernon Hills Update. The update offers information about a variety of village services. You'll meet a few of your neighbors and you'll find out about upcoming events. On today's show, we'll look ahead to warmer days to learn about this year's Village Road Rehab project, which will repair roads in Sugar Creek, Old Grove Farm, Westmoreland, and Hawthorne Club neighborhoods. We'll find out what we can expect from the new and improved Village Waste Hauling Program through Advanced Disposal, including new options for seasoned food scrapping, electronics recycling, and medical sharps disposal. We'll stop in at Vernon Hills High School to get schooled on the 2020 Census, which opens this month in preparation for April 1 Census Day. And we'll check out the progress on the Vernon Hills Athletic Complex soccer fields, which are being converted to field turf in preparation for the spring season. Thank you for tuning into the Vernon Hills Update.
Well, we've come out to the Old Grove Farm neighborhood. We're with Dave Brown. He's our Public Works Director, Village Engineer, and we're here to talk about the 2020 Road Rehab Project. Now, as people are watching this in March, you've been hard at work already getting everything ready for this year's program. So as people are watching, it's going to be getting ready to roll pretty quick.
Yeah, we're out in front of things. Once again, we're partnering with two other municipalities, the Village of Libertyville and Mundelein. We feel we get better pricing if we do combine with other entities, so really good networking with them. So this project includes Old Grove Farms, it includes parts of Westmoreland, the remaining part of Hawthorne Club, and then Sugar Creek. So, essentially roads that are about 25 years old, 26 years old.
So that's kind of the plan. You chart all your roads and you try to get to them about every 25 years to keep them in good shape?
Yeah, everything's subject to funding, but our goal is to touch every street every 25 years in terms of resurfacing. We take a lot of the guesswork out of it. We have a pavement management service that goes out and Dynaflex the roadway, imparts a load. It gives us good readings through their sensors in terms of what the conditions are below the surface of the pavement. Certainly we can see what's on the surface, but that really helps us in terms of what's the underlying issues.
Well, and I remember back in the day, a long time ago, when like Deer Path Road was torn up and you went right down to the gravel, and that was quite a deal. You guys don't really find that that's necessary anymore.
Yeah, very, very disruptive to the residents adjacent to it. They certainly want roads to be maintained. We strive to do that. But in terms of this, it's really a mill and overlay. So we grind the surface, we put a new surface down, we take care of some spot repairs for some curbs and some sidewalk connections. But that's how we spend our money.
And I've heard you, when you get at the board meeting, you'll explain all these things and go into detail and dollars, and it's faster, it's cheaper, it lasts almost as long, and it just doesn't disrupt neighbors who are trying to get to their houses.
Yeah, I think you summed it up very well.
Okay. So watch all the board meetings. He says it just like that. So, and so when we're looking at the schedule, you and Mundelein and Libertyville are probably getting ready to go out for bids now. But what is the schedule where people can start in the neighborhoods impacted, where they're going to start getting information?
Yeah, to touch on the first part of it, yes, we have communicated with IDOT. We've submitted plans to them. They're reviewing them. They're setting a date for a bid opening. Ultimately, what we're looking to do is communicate with the residents via this messaging and other forms of communication. We'll be reaching out to people into late March, into April, telling them what's coming their way, and then communicating throughout the project. We anticipate the project generally will start in May, and we hope that things are substantially complete by 4th of July.
Okay. And you guys have hit those marks in the last few years right on, even with bad weather. So it's kind of good to know how quick it goes.
Yeah, I have a great staff. Steve Masloff has, for 26 years, has led the charge on it. He really knows his routine. He's great at what he does, and he brings every project on time and under budget.
Hey, that's what we like to hear always. Yeah, we like the roads and we like them cheap, I guess. So people can watch for more information, and neighbors that are directly impacted get information as well. And there's updates all the way through the production. And as we talk about roads, one of the other roads we always talk about, we come back to Lakeview Parkway, and there's some main roads that go in kind of like by the post office in that whole area. That's a pretty big intersection there, and there's some plans that have been in the works.
Yeah, it's really an extension of the original project when Fairway Drive was extended through the Nike base. So that's its genesis. And since then, we've been monitoring traffic and impacts. Essentially, what that project is, it's a federal granted project. So we look forward to receiving 80% from the federal government in terms of the funding of the project. It goes through the Lake County Council of Mayors. They help us in terms of prioritizing which projects. When you're ready and you go through the correct steps, we go through with Springfield, have them approve things. We thought the project would be this year. We ended up switching and doing the project that I just presented because of some of the delays in terms of processing. But we are anticipating everything will be ready to go for next construction season. And then after that, we may have one more year that we touch up areas south of Route 60. And then you may recall Greg's Landing, some of the first streets there were 1998. So we will be spending some quality time in the northern part of the village.
Okay, so we know what we got this year in the neighborhoods. Next year, hopefully Lakeview, and then coming into Greg's. I can't believe it's been that long. That's incredible.
Time flies when you're having fun.
For sure. So if people want to know more about this road project, there's always a web page that provides information on a weekly basis. You can always get a hold of everybody over at Public Works too. So thanks for taking the time, and happy road work.
Absolutely.
We are here to do some trash talking. You get what I did there? We're going to talk about trash, garbage hauling, the village. I know that was pretty funny, wasn't it? We're with Chris Manley. He's the general manager at Advanced Disposal. That's our village-wide provider of residential garbage, recycling, yard waste hauling. And we're going to talk about the new and improved program that we're going to be able to tap into starting in about April. So we're here to give you an overview. Thank you for taking the time, Mr. Manley, and thank you for laughing at my joke. So we're in good shape already. So, well, and one of the things we want to talk about is Advanced has been the village-wide residential hauler for almost 5 years. So there was just a renewal of the contract. You guys got on it, worked with the village, staff, the board, Swalco. So we're actually coming in early.
Right. We've actually been hauling in the city of Vernon Hills for about 15 years now.
Oh, okay.
Previous, Veolia,
Okay.
purchased by Advanced Disposal. We've been here a long time now.
Okay.
But yes, we are renewing the contract. We've been working very closely with city staff, with John and Mark and Dave from Public Works, and putting things together to offer some new services to the village and get an extension.
New and improved. And one of the pieces, just as background, is we've talked about the contract didn't need to be extended till December, but you all got on it early for a lot of reasons. Changes in the industry, mergers, acquisitions, was going to change the pricing structure, and changes in the recycling industry. I've heard you say that has changed so much. So we're trying to lock in some good pricing.
Exactly. There has been a lot of changes in recycling. Processing costs have gone up dramatically, while the values of materials have gone down, as well as some changes in potential acquisitions, and different players going with different companies here coming up soon. So those things, and this new contract is going to allow the city to have established pricing going on for the next 5 years now.
So some peace of mind knowing we're locked in. And let's talk just a minute more about that recycling, because I've heard you say it used to be you could sell your recycled material to China and actually get money for it. Now you're trying to pay to get rid of it.
Yeah, the reality right now is that the cost of recycling to recycle is about twice the cost of putting things in the landfill. And that is, again, a lot of that's driven by commodity prices coming down and the cost of contamination. One of the things we really have to focus on is an educational program to reduce the contamination that's going into the recycling. Years ago, when we had the 18-gallon bins and the driver was out there, he was sorting everything out. And the soccer ball or the tennis shoe that didn't belong in there, he'd leave it in there and put it back at the curb. Now in an era of automation, everything that goes into these bins gets dumped into the truck. So the shoes, the toys, all that type of stuff is contaminants that are driving the costs way up. The processing costs have gone up dramatically too. So those are all things that controlling contamination is going to help us control those costs.
Okay, let's talk about controlling contamination, because I've heard people say, well, I buy these really special bags that I use for my recycling because they're supposed to be recyclable, and I do it that way. Or I look at the bottom and it seems like it's something that should be recycled. You're saying if it's a question, it's probably no longer recyclable.
Right. When in doubt, throw it out. You know, I call it a back to basics program. When you think about recycling 20 years ago, it was glass bottles and jars, it was tin cans and aluminum cans, detergent bottles and milk jugs and water jugs, those types of plastics, paper and cardboard. Now we've escalated it into the yogurt cup, and then the foil on top of the yogurt cup, and people are going, well, it looks like it should be, can it? And what we're saying is, when in doubt, throw it out. A lot of those plastics of that type, some of those are still recyclable, some are not, but the markets have really crashed on those types of things. So we're saying you're best off to focus on the back to basics things that we were recycling 15 years ago. And again, when in doubt, rather than just assume it's recyclable and then have it rejected as a contaminant, throw it out.
Well, and I've heard you give the story that if you've got a giant recyclable, in quotation marks, bag, and it's filled with aluminum cans, which are totally recyclable, the bag is going to negate it all.
Correct. Bagging your recyclable material is as good as, you may as well just throw it in the trash. When it gets to the recycling, the plant, and it gets dumped and starts coming across the line, anything, there are no bag rippers or people there with knives to untie or to cut things open. It's coming across very quickly. And all of those bags are taken and they're thrown in the trash. So again, part of the educational program is to make sure that people know that everything that goes into these containers needs to go in there loose. So if you're going to bring it out of your kitchen in a bag, when you get it to your container, dump the bag in the container, but don't tie the bag and put it in there, because chances are it's going to get thrown in the garbage.
Okay, so back to basics, back to total, and there's information online. Swalco has information, Advanced has information. So I guess we got to re-educate ourselves. So that's talking about recycling. And one of the things that is in the new contract is we will have weekly recycling pickup like we always have. So if we were able to maintain that. Some communities have given up on recycling, but we still have that.
Absolutely. Our new contract, it's business as usual, and we'll continue to recycle every week.
Okay. And let's talk about what we're standing in front of as we talk about garbage and recycling. This is kind of your containers for garbage and recycling.
Right.
You will still have the option for, you'll have one garbage pickup a week like we always have, but still the option for the second, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so that's business as usual. Options for additional sizing if you need to resize some things so it fits in your garage. We're going to have options where you can go online and look at things like that.
Correct. You'll have these three sizes, 96-gallon, 65-gallon, and then the small 35-gallon. Small 35 gallons are used a lot of times in townhomes and condominiums where you may have a one-car garage. People can try the larger ones in there, but again, you're limited on garage space, so we give you the various sizes.
So those are the kind of options you're going to look at for garbage and recycling. Part of the new improvements that are coming starting April, we don't have to wait for December for the contract, but starting in April, is in addition to the option for yard waste pickup, you're going to have food scrapping as a seasonal option to try this out. That's something new. Can you tell me about, some people will call it composting or food scrapping. What are we talking about? What are the pieces you're talking about for that?
That is something that's really gained traction over the last several years, is food scrapping or food composting. People are doing it in their backyard. There are places now, compost facilities that used to take just yard waste are now permitted to mix the yard waste with food. Okay. So we've added that to the contract this year. It's a ride-along program, meaning that it rides along in the same months from April 1st through November with the yard waste program. The food goes into the exact same truck as the yard waste, and it just goes to a different facility, where they will compost all these things together.
Okay, so it's like a giant compost facility as opposed to a little one in my backyard then.
Absolutely.
Okay. So when we look at yard waste, so the yard waste season, as you said, is April to November, so that'll be the composting season, April to November. How does one do that? Now, if I have a yard waste subscription, can I just throw it in the same container I'm already purchasing my service with, or how would that work?
You can. There's a couple different ways you can do it. We have a separate subscription for the composting for yard waste and the composting for food. If you have the compost already, or if you have the subscription already for yard waste, you can just add the food to it.
Okay.
The reason we have a separate subscription for the food composting is that you may have someone who they do not collect their lawn clippings, but they do want to use the food scrap program. Both of those programs are the exact same cost. But if you have one, you can add both to it.
Okay, so you can pick one. They're the one, so just pick whichever one you want to call it and go with it then for that season.
Right.
Okay.
The only precaution that we'll kind of throw out there for the food scraps is that when you have a yard waste program, some people will use the sticker program, and they'll just put a bag out. Our recommendation is that you would not add food to the craft paper bags, only because if you're putting it out there by itself and it's not contained in one of these carts, there's a good chance that you may get animals into it that smell that food and decide they want to dig through your material.
So if you were going to go that direction, that's where one of these littler containers might be the way to go?
If you wanted to go with just a food scrapping program only, yeah, I would recommend either this one here or the 35-gallon. What you would do then is you would just take we don't allow the plastic compostable bags. You can't put anything in there for the compost facility. They'll take all the food and all the yard waste in the craft bags, but they don't want anything that's plastic at all. So what you do is you'd line your cart with one of those craft bags, we'll call them, and you would just dump your food into that. That way when you dump the cart, you can just pull the bag out and your food comes out with it. And it's also a really good way to keep your cart clean rather than having stale potatoes stuck to the bottom of it all the time.
So it keeps your cart cleaner, keeps all the animals out of your neighborhood a little bit, kind of keeps an eye on things. So those are the kind of options too. People are going to be able to go online. You can connect with the village website to look at these options so you can figure out how to subscribe, who to call, where to get stickers from. Yard waste stickers, usually it's all the same kind of places, Home Depot, Village Hall, Sullivan Center,
right.
Those kind of places.
There's a list online for those, and we'll have them here.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll go ahead and make those available to everybody so that they can see where they're at.
So the addition is yard waste will be the same, and it's just boosted up by offering the food scrapping to be able to something to look at. And I know you said the food scrapping place, the place that makes the compost, they do warn against some of the biodegradable things that seem like they should be able to go into your compost, but they really don't work with the life cycle of what they're trying to do.
Right. There are things like biodegradable plastic bags. There are forks, knives, and spoons made out of cornmeal or biodegradable products. What they're telling me is that the full process of dumping the material, windrowing the material, and then grinding the material, turning it into dirt, takes about 4 to 5 months before it's ready to hit the market for sale again. And the issue is that the food and the yard waste, the grass clippings, that'll all decompose or biodegrade quickly. But these plastic products, what you end up with is this big, beautiful pile of black dirt with little forks and knives and spoons sticking out of it. So they really want us to stay away from those things things made of plastic or look like plastic, even though it's made of something else, that is not going to biodegrade as quickly as they need it to.
So it's kind of like recycling, back to the most basics and keep it simple. Well, and you've got a list in front of us, some of the things that are okay to compost and some of the things not. One of the things not was no meat and bones in there. They don't want that.
Right, the meat and bones that could change in the future, but for right now, most of the things, your grains, your pastas, most of the foods that you can think of, your dairy, that's all fine for the program. Obviously, your fruits and vegetables, even tea bags and stuff like that are okay. A dirty napkin from the table, a paper towel, those are all things that can go into the food scrap program. The meat thing right now is something they want to stay away from. Liquids, Dumping liquids into the cans is something we recommend against. Okay. It's not necessarily unacceptable, but the fact is that as you're dumping all these liquids in there, you're putting that into a garbage truck, and as you're smashing all of that stuff in there, we don't want that type of stuff leaking out onto the streets, and all of a sudden you have that smell. So we ask that you not put liquids in there.
So this will be an interesting, this is a start. This is our kind of like giving it a shot, and we're going to see how we do, and we appreciate having that value added. And when we talk about value added to our waste hauling, another value added is electronics recycling. We're going to have that in the village coming up, where you can do a drop-off and you're not paying exorbitant amounts to Best Buy or somebody to have them take an old TV back. They'll just take it.
Correct. The village wanted their own recycling drop-off location. So that's going to be over at Public Works. That'll start April 1st. We've always offered an at-home pickup curbside where you could put your television at the curb, and if you asked us to come get it, we would come get it at a cost for you. Now with this program, there'll be a container at Public Works where you can bring it and put it in the container for free. If you've got a large television or one of the big old wooden TV consoles that you just can't get it into a car or a trunk and get it over here to Public Works, we'll still come and take care of that for you. So now you've got two options. You've got a free option at Public Works, and then you'll have the pickup option for us to send a truck out to pick it up.
Okay, so you got all kinds of options there. And one final additional option that we've got now with this recycling program is at some point we're going to be able to have a collection point for medical sharps. We've got a lot of people who use, they have to use injection pieces and sharps and things. Sometimes it's difficult to get rid of them, and that's going to be something that you're putting together for us too.
Right. A lot of times you'll have annual type collection events, and what we're going to put together with the village is the village is going to pick a location where we will have a daily drop-off. There'll be a secured, sealed container there where people can bring those types of needles, whatever it might be, and safely put those into that container, and then we will monitor that and haul those off and change them out as needed.
So all these things are things you guys are working on. Again, you were way ahead of the contract, so that's good. And it's more information is going to get posted online. We'll connect you over to Advance so you can figure out what you need at your house. People from Advance are always great too. When you call up, they kind of help walk you through all the options, but you can do a little research before. And mostly, we're just going to try to be more mindful when we're recycling and we're doing all this stuff. If we all work together, I think we can really, kind of go green on this whole thing and be good. Because I know the village is committed to going green, Advanced is committed to going green. So it's a lot of great opportunities here. So thank you for taking the time. We appreciate it. Thank you for all you've all done for the 15-some years you've been working with us. Thanks to your drivers. We know them well. And as we look forward, we'll just educate ourselves and be ready for April. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
We've come over to the administrative offices for District 128. That's the high school district that serves Libertyville High School, Vernon Hills High School. We're with Superintendent Prentice Lee. And Dr. Lee, we're here to talk about something that's important to all schools and the wider community, and that's the importance of the 2020 census. Can you impress upon people how important that is to our schools?
Well, the census is important for a number of reasons, not only to our local area, as you mentioned, but also the broader Northern Illinois area and also the state of Illinois, because from the census, the federal government uses a lot of that disaggregated data to determine funding for a variety of programs. And certainly funding to public education is part of that would be sent to the state of Illinois and that would flow through to local school districts. So the census is a very important part of that process. If the census is not accurate and it's too low, for example, then the state and the flow-through money to local schools would be less. If it's an accurate count, then we get a better reflection of the dollars that are available through the federal government to the state to local school districts.
So really, the goal is to have the right count, because if the students are going to be here anyway, you need that funding to support those schools. So that's why everybody's got to get counted.
Yes, absolutely. So from our end, we would encourage parents and families in the community to complete the census. The modern day that we live in now, there's an opportunity to do that online. It's probably less invasive for a lot of people, do the paper copy, and certainly do that as soon as you have the opportunity to do that. So once again, we have an accurate reflection in our local area, in the state, as part of the United States for the apportionment of funding and a variety of programs that the federal government is involved in helping states with.
Well, funding and everything from schools, roads, hospitals, grant, how we vote, our districting and everything like that. It all comes from the census. And it only happens every 10 years. I would think as schools you kind of get excited when the census data comes in because you have a really good picture of what just happened. So that it's so important for that 10-year mark.
Well, I think I've recently learned myself that the census has been ongoing since 1790. So think about that. It may be one of the longest things that we've done in this country, and there's a reason that we do it every 10 years so that we have accurate data to reflect all of the things that you've mentioned and education. So again, we just encourage people to take the time and complete the census for your household and turn it in so everyone can be counted in our local community here and in the state of Illinois and as part of the United States.
Yeah. It's your civic duty. It's a really good thing to do. It's a fast thing to do too. It's an easy thing to do. Once you go online, it's quick. So thank you for taking the time, Dr. Lee. One of the easiest ways you can support your schools, go online and do the census. It's an easy thing to do. So thank you, sir. And now we're going to talk to a couple of your students who are going to help us with some tidbits and some information about the census so we can be really efficient and effective when we do it. But thank you, sir. Thanks for taking the time.
You are welcome. Great to see you.
Hi, I'm Abby.
I'm Hala.
And we're student board reps for Vernon Hills High School.
Easy ways to fill out the census is online, which is the fastest way. You could also fill it out in the mail. It gets mailed to everyone by mid-March. You could do it on the phone, and there's multiple languages and assistance available, so it's very easy to fill out.
And if you're worried to fill out the census because you're worried that your privacy might be compromised, don't worry about that. By law, all the data is bunched together, and it won't be sent to any immigration or taxation offices.
It is important to make sure that it is the U.S. Census Bureau and to avoid scams. The U.S. Census Bureau will never ask for party affiliation, for money or donations, and they will never send you emails. They should also never ask for your social security number. Stay safe, and if you feel nervous or unsafe, call the U.S. Census Bureau or 911.
When you're filling out the census, make sure that you count everyone that will be living in your house on April 1st. This could include a non-relative. For more information, you can go online. Please fill this out. It's really important and it helps all of us.
Well, we've moved a little bit east. We've come over to the Vernon Hills Athletic Complex. We are again with Dave Brown. He's our village engineer, public works director, and we are here at a very exciting project. We are watching them get ready to put in, I guess you call it turf, fake grass.
Yeah. So, yes, we're converting the sports fields for 10 through 12. Those fields used to be turf grass, and we're moving it towards sports turf, which is an AstroTurf-like product.
I know there's a lot of words about what you can say and can't say about it. So right now what we're looking behind, they're actually putting, what are they putting in the ground?
Well, the project's moving along nicely. What they're doing right now, they've done the final grading, and now they're disking in lime so they can stabilize the soil, and then they'll start putting down large rock. They'll finish the concrete, the fencing, and then come April, they'll bring in the carpet, and they'll lay the carpet much like what you would do at your house.
So it is we're hopefully ready for play this spring for lacrosse and soccer for the Vernon Hills Soccer Club.
Yeah, expectations is that it will be operational, ready to play for May 1.
Well, and let's back up on this project. This is a joint project. There's a lot of people involved. The village was part of it. It was brought to the village by the Vernon Hills Soccer Club, which is a fairly new organization in terms of this community. They've started the soccer club a few years ago to make sure we had something. They brought that in, and the park district's involved, and Sports Made Simple, and it's quite a combination, a partnership.
Yeah, there's a lot of use on these fields, so there's a lot of people who are stakeholders and supporting us. There's Sports Made Personal that agreed to a 10-year rental agreement with us, so we'll be renting the fields to them for a 10-year period. For that, they're contributing $900,000. The soccer club has been fantastic. They've contributed money towards some of the sports lighting that you see here. They've done that in the past. They're great partners. They're contributing $300,000. The park district's contributing additional funds also, and then the village is financing the remainder.
Well, and the discussion of this whole thing was, people might say, well, why don't we just keep it with grass? But there's a couple reasons, and one of them, the grass was in bad shape. You're going to have to dig it up and reseed it and not play on it for a while anyway. So this was not as big a deal as you might think.
Well, you may recall last May and then just into June, we set historic records for rainfall. So game after game after game had to be rescheduled. You know, it's really impactful for parents, the players, everyone. So the fields were originally installed in 2001. So, you know, we're almost at that 20-year mark. So we really looked at what should we do moving forward. We're very thankful for the other people who are contributing money towards that we can make this happen. And as you can tell, it's underway, and we're excited about it.
Well, and the idea, too, is you can have some rain on these sports turf fields, and you can resume play as long as there's no lightning. It's just a whole different ballgame. And people, when they want a tournament, they want to know you've got that, because they don't want to give their money and their time and then show up and be canceled.
Yeah, it just provides so many more opportunities for play. The soccer programs, as you can tell, just keep continuing. There's a soccer academy that's here at this site, and that's part of the Sports Made Personal group. And so we will have a lot more feet on the fields. And so if we can expand the available time, it's good for everyone.
Well, and a shout out too to the Vernon Hills Soccer Club, because that's got a lot of volunteers around the community who give their time and talent. You've got people like Kevin Atkinson, Pete Kempf, Andrew Rebeck, and all those guys. They really put in a lot to make sure our kids right here can do all this stuff.
They are so great for the community. I mean, they are so engaged. They're so committed to what they do. They're just fantastic people. We're glad they're part of the team.
It's very exciting. So come over here and take a look. It's moving fast, and by this spring we'll come back over and we'll watch the kids play. That'll be great. So thanks for taking the time. It's a great project.
Absolutely looking forward to nicer weather come May, and hopefully we're out here again.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Well, that wraps up this edition of the Vernon Hills Update. If you have comments or suggestions, please contact Mike Storto at 847-918-3560 or email mikes@bhills.org. Thank you for tuning into the Vernon Hills Update.